room is in here. So we have, if maybe some of you were on the call last year, Phil with BNY Mellon is back. Or I should say BNY Wealth. Sorry, Phil is back. He's going to give another kind of overview of BNY's services and their platform. And he's also accompanied by Brian Muir as well, who runs a company, Value Compass, focusing on business owners. So, Phil, I know I'm going to toss it over to you to kick it off and intro Brian eventually. So feel free to take it away.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Good to see you. It's been a while. I hope everyone is doing all right with the snow. And just excited to get into 2026 with the partnership between BNY and Cambridge. Again, as I maybe told you guys all before, I know you met my partner, Jake Knows, on this webinar previously, but we have a partnership agreement with you guys where if you have any opportunities dealing with the transition of large wealth, we can partner on those and you can use BNY Wealth's Trust and Estates Division, our private bank, um, escrow, whatever sort of components or services that we offer. You can leverage those to close business and then we split the investment management fees. And part of what we wanted to talk about today is a new initiative that we're starting, working with Value Compass, and that's both Chuck Richards, who you see here on the call, and Brian Muir, who it's a company that was founded by Chuck, and they actually have a solution to business owners, and we will. So it's, the Wealth Alliance partnership between Cambridge and BNY is very strong. It exists independent of this specific initiative. So if you have generational wealth transfers, etc., or you need trust analysis, but this is specifically for this business wealth market that I think we all know is coming to fruition very quickly with the business transition from boomers into that next generation wealth. So we have a presentation slide deck, and I'm going to hand it over to Chuck and Brian, who are going to talk to you about Value Compass.
So, Phil, are you going to run the deck?
I am.
Okay. I
Can you
like
see
it
it?
when you. No, I
Nope, not
cannot.
yet.
Okay. How
There we
about
go.
now?
We're starting. We'll see if it comes on. There we go. Phil,
Well,
perfect.
well done.
Great. So, without further ado, I'm just going to do the introductions and let's move forward into this specific initiative that we're working on.
So you can flip to the. Can you go to the next slide, or
Yeah, it's
that's
here we
okay.
go. Sorry. So
Uh,
here's Chuck and Brian here on the call. I don't think we're actually going to present this slide deck to you both, future tense. Here's a picture of Chuck Richards and Lev Schreiber, actually. Uh, if you guys can see. So, but they both work for
Uh,
Brian is the chief sales and Chuck Richards is the founder and CEO. Both of them have storied backgrounds in history, specifically in this market, and delivering this service. If you guys want to do a bit of background, I don't know, but I can move into the next frame if you
yeah, I
guys
think
want.
I think just move to the next one. We're good. We
Okay.
can talk to people. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, thank you, Phil, for having us, and thank you, folks at Cambridge, for allowing us to have this conversation. So, the world that I come from and Brian come from, and this is business wealth. Functionally, it is the fourth largest asset class in this country, right? But it has never really been an asset class. The inability to measure it, to track it, to be able to enable advisors to really treat the business like an asset has been a challenge for decades now. And that's a problem that we've been solving. We have a background of working with literally 60,000 businesses, being able to measure them and track them. It includes all the work came out of MIT. It came out of my work as a PhD there, and then Harvard Business School. We worked with the Department of Defense. We've worked with all the big players in order to create a system that enables business owners and their advisors to quickly understand the business, right? And it isn't just to understand the business, their net worth, okay, and what the business is worth or enterprise value, but also what it could be. And we do it through the lens of operations. And that's the world in which business owners live every single day. They live with the business as an operating asset. The challenge, and we can talk about the challenges of how you speak to them, but at the end of the day, what we bring uniquely to this world is the ability to think of the business as an operating asset. And with that skill, we can now turn that into a real asset class. And that's our goal, right? Because it's the last great underserved asset class. And people have done it before. Obviously, eMoney did it with individuals. Our friend Zillow did it around homes, and Value Compass is really focused on doing it around businesses. And the question is always why now, as Phil said, is this huge transfer of wealth. Yes, it's $32 trillion worth of business wealth. The boomers are exiting the businesses. There's money in motion between generations. I think in this case, it's more important to think about it as wealth in motion. So there's big, big chunks of wealth moving between generations, and they need a lot of help. And that's where we've been working with advisors to make sure that they can do that. And the other thing, this is really important. These businesses today, traditionally, if you look back historically, there's an 80% plus failure rate to transfer businesses from generation to generation. It isn't just small businesses, it's medium-sized businesses, it's large businesses. And if you look at the payrolls, this is 50% of our payrolls. So it's a massive challenge, and that kind of work is incredibly important. The other core statistic, which I think is near and dear to advisors' hearts, is what owners want, what they're looking for, is a single trusted advisor to be sitting at the head of the table, right? They're really looking for someone who can holistically help them understand their business, understand their personal, and connect those dots. And that's what Value Compass is all about, is connecting the business with the personal. Go ahead. And so we have a complete system. It's taken us a decade to build it, but it's the only complete business wealth system. And it's really targeted to elite advisors. Okay. When we think of elite advisors, we think about the top 1 or 2% of advisors who are committed to working with business owners fully and completely. And obviously, in the box, you can see, why does it matter? Well, 2% of the businesses control 80% of the wealth. So it's a very small number of businesses that control the vast majority of business wealth of $32 trillion. And that's 114,000 if you're going to get really specific. But these businesses have really unique needs. They have unique aspirations. Mostly they're looking at this idea of multi-generational wealth. They're looking for people who can help them do that. And for advisors to be able to operate in this space, they need the training, they need to build teams. You can't operate without a team. And Rick Scruggs will be talking to you in a little while. We'll talk to you about teams. And then they need access. And BNY is the kind of access they need. BNY to a business owner out there in the street is aspirational. They know BNY. They don't know it, but they kind of know it's out there. And it's aspirational when they think about multi-generational wealth. But for you as the advisor, how do you get into the market? And this is the idea of a complete system, right? We have this complete system that starts with this understanding of the 2% of the market, these high net worth and ultra high net worth business owners. We know how to communicate to them. We have a process to help you land new clients, and it's called Discover. And it's really simple. If you walk into a business owner, you have a meeting with them, the average advisor is going to talk about their money. They're going to talk about their wallet and hip pocket national bank. That's the last thing an owner wants to talk about. On the other hand, if you talk to them about their business, talking about their operations, and you're able to do that, they're going to open up. They're going to blossom. They're looking for someone to do that. Discover allows you to do that in 15 minutes, know what it's worth, what it could be worth. And 70% of the time, if you have a Discover report with them, you're going to land them as a client. But we don't stop there, right? It's all about now, how do you work with them? So the other understanding that that you'd learn working with us is that owners will pay 1%, okay, of the value of their business for someone like you to help them connect the dots between the business and the personal to help them understand where they're going, what their future is. And we call that an engagement fee. So if it's a $10 million business, they'll spend $100,000 as an engagement fee with you right out of the box like that. And we train people how to do that. The first thing most of them need is protection. Their family is completely buck naked. So they want to buy some insurance. And then they get comfortable. They're going to move the AUM. They're going to move over the 401k. They want to be introduced to teams. They will become your clients for life. And we teach that. So, new clients, we teach you to fully serve them. They become clients for life. People who use this kind of system, the clients are measured in decades, not in months, right? And the annual 1% fee continues on every single year, right? And then they buy products. Obviously AUM is a product, insurance is a product. Ultimately, when the time comes, they're going to monetize the business. And you're there for that. Then you're on there for the multi-generational stuff. So the point is really simple. We understand owners of medium to large businesses. We understand what they need. We understand how to talk to them. We do all that. So we built a system around that understanding. And in our world, we're looking for those folks who are committed to growth, committed to the business markets, because it is has a huge need. The second thing is they're willing to invest in themselves. We've found over the last years and years and years, if an advisor is not willing to invest in themselves, believe in themselves, then they really aren't going to be very good for business owners. Because guess what? Business owners believe in themselves. They've invested in themselves. So they're looking for a peer. And the last thing is that they're coachable and accountable. If you aren't coachable, then it's not going to work either. So those are the three things. You want to grow, right? You invest in yourself and you're coachable and accountable. So that's sort of how we look at the world. And I'm going to hand it over to Brian to talk about it. And we know he's coachable because he has a Stanley Cup ring, and they put up with him for 16 years in the NHL. So clearly he was coachable. But when he left that, he built one of the premier marketing companies for advisors. He co-founded it. That's AdvisorStream. So he's got the background to really drive where we're going. So on that note, Brian, it's all yours.
Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, I know. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks for the intro. I want to talk about the 11x Elite Advisor training, and this is how we're going to get you those clients. And we've gone through a couple of cohorts now, and I want to show you this highly structured training program for advisors delivered through our Value Compass system, and that's the Business Wealth System and platform. So the first portion of this is going to consist of 90 days. And this is where we are going to get you a new client. These are the new client acquisition side. Now, advisors tend to want to pay for platforms as they go along. And this is what we want you to do. You need to believe in what you can do, and we train you to do such. So you're going to get new clients in the first 90 days, and you are going to get 3 times the growth on the revenue side for your business. And from there, we're going to go into the elite training. The next 90 days is to fully service those clients. And that's where you're going to increase the revenue 5-fold, right? And as Chuck was showing you along that continuum of that timeline, you're going to gain all those products and you're going to be able to sell AUM. You're going to be able to do all of those things along that continuum so that the revenue will then increase. And then the clients for life in the next 180 days is where you get that business exit ready. And you're going to have the ability, because a lot of advisors tend to want to chase the exit money, whether they go get their SEPA and they say, I want to get a business that's ready to exit. We're not doing that. We're going to get you the business as an asset. You are going to help maintain that asset over the course. Maybe 5 years down the road, they end up exiting the business. Then there's the big payday. Then there's the $10 million sitting that comes into AUM. And that's where you talk to BNY, and the BNY partnership allows you to leverage a ton of their skills and their skill sets to be able to help those clients, which are the business owners, and help them close that business, whether that's trust, whether that's legal, all of those things that Phil can help you do with BNY. He will assist you in that process, and those business owners require that. And let's talk about the proof in the program. So we've done this. We have Rick Scruggs on, who's one of our trainers. He ran a phenomenal cohort, and we just have some examples of what that 6-month program looked like. This is currently, they're at 6 months, and these are the results that we've had. So we want to see the total new clients. I think we have 9 advisors We had 50 new clients with 9 advisors. The total fees were $913,000 in fees. The new AUM was 246 million, and we're talking about the business owner wealth in AUM there. And the 11x lifetime, the value, the LTV of those clients is $10.5 million for all 9 of those advisors. Now let's look at how they break down. Our advisor, JB, got 12 new clients, $222,000 in new fees, 100 million in new assets on business wealth, and the LTV for that was 2.4 million. And you can see down the line how those break down. Now, Chuck talked about the investment that you're going to make as an advisor. We need you to commit. We need you to commit to growth. We need you to commit to learning. From there, we are going to guide you through the system as the business owner wealth system. We're going to guide you through that. Our counselors and advisors are going to help you do the steps in the 90 days in the first, the 90 days in the second, and then the 180 days down the line. So with that, we can guide you along that path, and you are going to be a much better advisor for business owners at the end of this. And this is proof in the pudding. Now, we have Rick Scruggs, who has joined us, and we're going to have Rick talk through a couple of cases, 1 or 2 cases that he's actually had, kind of to illustrate where the revenue can be generated with regards to the business owner and products and services that are provided along the line with the use of the Value Compass platform and how that works. So Rick, Rick doesn't have a slide. His would be way too long. He's been in the business 40 years. He is a very well accomplished advisor with Mass Mutual, has done a phenomenal job for all of his clients for a long time. He's got some, he can tell you the examples of clients he's had for 20, 30, 40 years. He's been a avid user of the Value Compass platform, servicing business owners, has primarily focused his now primarily all on business owners. And I'll just leave it to you, Rick. Hopefully I've done you justice, Rick, and you can take away and go to the next slide and do the case studies.
Sure. So thank you all for investing some time this morning, ladies and gentlemen. And Philip, always good to see your face. So we were introduced to Value Compass right at the beginning of COVID. Didn't really know anything about it. We had worked in the private and family business market, as Brian said, for the past 40 years through a combination of whether it was talking to owners about their buy-sell agreement, talking about key person, talking about non-qualified deferred comp, 401k, employee stock ownership plans. So we had quite a breadth across. However, we'd never had a tool where on a bad day, we could ask 18 questions that were part of Discover to an owner and give them invaluable information from which they could decide whether they wanted to go forward or not. So whether the number for the value of the business was 5 million or 20 million or 50 million, that really didn't make any difference. It was the first time an owner could answer 18 questions and instantaneously get a report popping up on their screen, or whether they were physically in our office on our Zoom board, they could see this. It identified red flags. It identified, though, the gap. So if the company was worth 15, but the system said, but you're leaving $4.5 million on the table, they could say, hey, that's a big number. It's not. Now, you got to remember, you have to meet a client or a prospect where they are, and we already know life is going to get in the way. So as my mentor used to say, unless you got about 50 stallions in the barn, you can't just have one horse that you're going to ride, because that horse could break a leg or have to get knocked out. So we've always been big advocates of having an inventory of businesses to talk to. We've done morning symposiums for probably 25 years, inviting CPAs and tax attorneys and other specialists like BNY to talk to these owners about the event. As Earl Nightingale once said, we're here for a very short visit on the blue planet, and life is full of black swans, the highly improbable, not supposed to happen, but if they do, it's not a good thing. So we meet those owners where they are. We use the Value Compass system because it's got integrity, it's reliable, it's dependable, and for the most part, the owners are impressed with the fact that we gave them invaluable information in a 15 or 20-minute phone call or face-to-face meeting. Now, the best part is we keep tracking these clients. So recently, and Chuck met this gentleman yesterday. He has a steel fabrication company. 2022, it was worth about $5 million on Value Compass. They were making $500,000. We've continued to work with them on their phantom stock plan, their defined benefit, estate planning, key employee identification. And last year they made 5.5 million, a little bit of difference. Now, is that every case? Absolutely not. However, you don't need but one or two of those every once in a while to make a huge difference in your firm and your firm's growth and where you want to take it. But this is not a solo sport. It's a team sport. So you have to have an army. And BNY is part of our army. They've got the chops when the client has a sophisticated case or even just a plain vanilla. I brought in Scott Barron, who's been our liaison coordinator 4 years ago for two brothers who sold their international dealership. I knew that, yeah, could we have handled the account if it was 2 million or 3 million? Maybe. I mean, we do that every day, 5 million, 7 million. But this was a 25 to $30 million deal. I knew there was competition from the bank and an existing advisor. So BNY flew their team in. We met with the two brothers one-on-one, and we actually did it twice. They transferred all their assets, all their estate planning, all their insurance planning. And it's really, they've referred us now to other business owners who are thinking about transitioning. How do they monetize their business asset? And, everybody's in a different space. I think it's a huge mistake to assume that everybody wants to exit. I don't like to use the term exit planning. I like to talk about transition thinking, and then how are you going to monetize? Because we find there's 10 ways to monetize. The last one is not admirable. It's called liquidation, and most of our prospects and clients cross that one off the list. So team sport, bring an army, have technology, use these tools. I've never had a CPA dispute the number that came out. In this particular, we've broken it down into 3 categories. A firm doing, got to see my glasses. Yeah, 5 million of revenue, 25 million, and 80 million of revenue. And as Chuck said earlier, I live in nowhere. I mean, I'm in a community of 150,000. You got to drive an hour and a half on an interstate to get here. But we have over 15 clients that have over 100 employees. So when Chuck says there's not a whole lot of 100+ companies, well, in our neighborhood, maybe we're just lucky. But whether they got 100, 150, or just 50, or the steel fabrication company with 25, we're not picky. We want to work with people who are growth focused, owners who want to take massive action to create a more abundant future, and most important, have the time to enjoy it. I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have any time to enjoy it, and last time I looked, my 4 grandchildren are growing up faster and faster and faster. So we develop long-term relationships. It's not a transaction that we're involved with. That's why BNY's got a 250-year track record. It's about legacy. It's about longevity. And we don't want our competition or whoever those folks are out on the street to get the camel's nose under the tent. And so this is why you want to build a group of people that support your firm's mission. This is how you can attract and recruit future people to your firm to grow it into whatever you want it to be. And as Chuck said, when we're at the 80 million or even 50 million, we've charged clients who've said, well, that's $60,000 fee for the firm in the middle. He said, that's a lot of money. And I said, that's really just chicken S. And he said, yeah, you're right. And he's been paying that fee now for over 6 years. They pay an annual life insurance premium of over $700,000. We've paid multi-million-dollar death claims on key employees. We handle their 401k. We handle their ESOP. We handle their investment account. The company pays personal financial planning fees for all the management team. And the alignment report that you can run on Value Compass is invaluable. every owner thinks their entire management team is on target, knows exactly what's going on. There's a wonderful acronym called NETMA, which we think is way too prevalent in the space. It's called Nobody Ever Tells Me Anything. So the Align report gives you an opportunity to ask the 18 questions of every key employee, and then Value Compass generates this Align report, and the owner goes, oh my God, Henry doesn't think what I think, and Bill doesn't think what I think, and Mary's over here in left field. So if you're going to win the game, as Vince Lombardi said, you got to block and you got to tackle. And so Value Compass is one of those invaluable tools that allows you to block and tackle, build your firm so that your firm has a future monetization value when you get old and gray like me, although I'm very young in spirit. So, again, Main Street, middle market, large companies. We have companies who do 250 million in revenue and have, 250 employees versus we have companies, we just picked up a new client. It's a father and two sons. I figured, well, they called us. I thought, well, what can they be doing? Well, they're making $2 million a year between the three of them. So we're putting in a cash balance plan. We're funding their buy-sell agreement. We're doing their estate planning. We're doing the estate planning for the two boys. And so that's going to probably be about $150,000 revenue client for us, but not just this year. It's the repeat. One of my colleagues has a 98% retention on financial planning renewal fees from his client base. So he wakes up on January 1st every year and he's got $600,000 of financial planning fees coming in. He's got his AUM, GDC coming in, and then he's got whatever else he's doing, charging his own fees, plus, the insurance component. So you can deliver the whole package if you want, or you can get in one swim lane. However, I would collaborate with other people who can handle the other swim lanes if your firm doesn't. And, as my mentor once said, Rick, the 4 letters in the alphabet that are underutilized every day are HELP. Ask for help, get people to collaborate with. If you only do one case with a collaborative partner, you're going to think you paid them too much and you didn't get paid enough. If you do 5 cases a year on average, it always works out. I found that 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So anything else, Brian, you'd like me to add?
No, that's wonderful. And I just to kind of reiterate with the platform and what Rick's talking about as far as the teaming aspect, what we provide with the ability to connect you to an exit board, to have those strategic partnerships, whether that's an M&A firm, a CPA, a lawyer, estate planning, people like Phil at BNY, we have the ability to connect you with that. So feel like you're getting a little bit of a hug from us, and you're going to be able to have the help and reach out if you need someone. We're there for you with regards to the teaming aspect.
And Brian, I'll close with one quick story. So our corporate tax attorney firm, 100 lawyers, we've worked with them for 30 years. He calls me up and he says, do you know anybody in the auto dealer business who sells auto dealerships? And I said, no, but I know somebody who probably does. So I called Scott Barron. He immediately gave us the name. The guy's 2 hours from where we live. He drove up before Christmas, met with the tax attorney, met with the owner of the dealerships. They signed an engagement agreement, 29 auto dealerships. We would have never gotten in there without that relationship with Scott, who was willing to share his Rolodex. Now, I think that's that energy. But then I have a colleague out in North Dakota who's got owns 6 CPA firms, has 1,000 business owner clients, but he didn't have the relation. He didn't even know who BNI was. And so now he's been able to bring these clients who are worth, 10, 50, $100 million to the Army. And he's just changed his whole game of where he wants to take his firm. So I just wanted to use those 2 examples. BNY is a 250-year-old Rolodex, and there aren't many people on the street who are willing to share that, because if you want to have a brain surgeon, you don't want your dentist to do brain surgery. And when you amputate the wrong leg, reattachment of a severed limb is very difficult. So build your team, work with Value Compass, work with BNY, and we look forward to seeing you all join 11X.
Let me add
Thank you, Rick.
let me add one thing, because the lens is the advisor lens. Actually, I come from the world of the business owner. So I've spent decades as a business owner working with business owners, 60 plus boards. And I can tell you categorically what Rick and you folks can bring to the owners is exactly what they need and want. They literally are in their offices waiting for someone to come help them. HELP. Right? We have always called them proud, successful hermits with their door closed. Why? Because everybody is approaching them and asking them about their wallet. Tell me about your wallet. How much money do you have? Versus walking in the door, as Rick just said, meeting them where they are. That's all they're waiting for. It's really simple. Business owners want to talk to someone who cares about their business, right? It's like a grandmother. If you walk and talk to a grandmother, you better talk about the grandkids or you'll never talk to her again. And business owners are the exact same way. Meet them where they are, talk about their business, and the door will be open to all the things that they want and need. Then they begin to open up and say, well, geez, by the way, yeah, I've got this over there. Can you help me have this over here? And that's the trusted advisor 86% of them want. So when you walk in the door, it's not like you have a hard sell. There's no hard sell to a business owner. They want you to walk in the door and be real. They want you to walk in the door and understand them. And they want you to walk in the door and listen. And if you do those simple things, you'll have a client for life.
So Phil.
Yeah. I'm gonna at this point now, gonna stop sharing. We have we're gonna display that send that presentation around to you, Sebastian. We just wanted to reiterate, Cambridge and BNY have that partnership that's been ongoing for a long time. We're introducing a new plan to attack this business owners markets. And I think we can all work together, working with your client share and ours to really get into this market, specifically in the region that you guys cover. And that's basically why we wanted to have this presentation today, just to talk about starting in 2026, over the next 15 years, if all this money is going to be transitioning, let's work together to build the service offering in this channel. So
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone has anyone.
Phil,
Yeah,
I just for everyone. So I know we didn't do a demo of the platform. We talked about examples, the size of the market, what it consists of, how to service the market. I'm here. What's going to happen is I'm going to provide my link to schedule a call, and we can actually walk through the platform so I can actually show it to you. You can get a very good understanding. A picture's worth 1,000 words, so I can walk you through the process of what's going to happen. Obviously, the training, the platform, everything will be there. So we will share that link with you. Please book if you're interested in the business market and growing your revenue 11x. Sign up for a demo. I cannot tell you and stress enough how successful people are with the system. And I would love to have a conversation with you and then be able to get you to see what the platform is all about. So we look forward to that. And on that note, I think, do we want to open it up for questions? I think.
We have a question from Jim. Go ahead, Jim. If you guys are okay with that, if you guys have time.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
We have time.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just a kind of a very simple question. I love your approach and really understanding what the client, the business owner really cares about before you ever get into the financial side of their life. One of the things that I've often wondered and have heard as an issue is business owners sometimes question whether or not they will have interest from the next generation, to come in and take over that business. Is there a way to help them discover whether that's even a viable resource for them in your presentation or in the discovery that you do?
So Jim, I'll share with you something that just happened this morning. So that steel fabrication client, he's very bright. He's 65 years old. His son is investment banker, lawyer in Atlanta. He's now almost 30 years of age. And we've been talking about, well, Mark, which way are you going to go? You going to go out to private equity? Are you going to go to an aggregator? And then I recommended to him before Christmas to have a conversation with his son and just say, hey, you don't have to give him all the details, but say, do you have an interest? He's just recently gotten married. They want to start a family. Atlanta's a great city, fabulous city, but 250,000 in Atlanta doesn't spend like $1 million in Virginia. And so this morning he said his son had called and said, hey, Dad, I want to come up. I want to bring my wife. Let's have a further conversation. But you are correct. A lot of second generation adult children or even third generation don't have an interest in the business, mainly because I don't think it's ever been properly presented. We do family meetings. We're not psychologists or therapists, so I want to make sure I'm clear about that.
Right.
But we've developed some legacy questionnaires that we give to an owner and his spouse. It takes them about 20 minutes on a bad day for them to answer the questions. It gives them an affirmation report and then a family philosophy document. And so it begins to get them on a path, Jim, of where they may want to go. And hopefully it's not 11:59 and they're thinking of selling at 12 o'clock. If we can get 2, 3, 4 years or more under our belt, then they can explore what we call the 10 options and discover whether Gen 2, Gen 3, or even Gen 4. Now we have clients who are in Gen 3 and 4 right now, and it's very rewarding. It's not for everybody. And again, the owners just have to be willing to engage with a professional group like your firm to have that crucial conversation. Stakes are high, emotionally charged, and sometimes opposing views.
Let me add a little to that, Jim. So the other thing that happens if you think about business owners, they tend to come home and then they share with their family mainly frustrations, the long hours. They see this black box. There's this black box thing going on, right? So they don't have any visibility. And so what Rick is really talking about is once the owner themselves, okay, begin to understand their business as an operating asset, begin to feel better about they can actually begin to share, right? It's almost impossible for most business owners to share about their business because they haven't got it organized in their own heads. They don't have this idea of it's worth this, it could be worth that. As soon as those discussions around operations are clear in the owner's heads, they begin to share and have conversations with advisors. And that just opens the door. But as long as it's a black box, and they don't and the family can't understand it, then everybody loses. As soon as it's no longer a black box and you're having family meetings and they're sharing information, and the owner CEO, whether it's the wife or the husband, doesn't matter, right? They begin to talk about the business as something that's interesting. That's something that they've been growing, and the conversation is different than they just get home and they're upset.
And Rick, just a quick question to you is like, if the owner gets clarity on the business, and then over the course of like you say, you have that time to do all of the things on the diligence, and they feel more comfortable at the end of that and can illustrate to the next generation, the business is kind of in a box with a bow on it, and it's running in a much more efficient manner as opposed to that kind of frazzled. They come in the black box, they're running the business, but they don't have the clarity after the process that they've gone through with you and Value Compass over those years. Would you say that they're more comfortable at the end saying, hey, it's in a box with a bow on it, you can pretty much run it now? Is that something that would be
Yeah, I
safe to
think,
say?
well, it's interesting. So Chuck and I had a conversation 3 years ago in the middle of COVID with a client was saying, I think I ought to sell. I can get probably 70 to $100 million for this thing. And Chuck said, well, why don't you suggest to him to become chairman, hire a professional CEO president, and just own it as a family asset? And that's what they did. He brought in a true pro. This guy has taken the company to a whole nother level. So sometimes, the owners run out of gas and fuel. They hit a ceiling of complexity that cannot be broken through unless an entrepreneurial team is created to, build the true value, as Chuck said, which is so many times still underwater. So yeah, it's a journey. It's really not a destination.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Phil, I have a question.
Sure.
Brian, I know obviously, folks can reach out to you one-on-one. Just so I understand correctly, I understand Value Compass is doing the, elite advisor training to get in front of business owners. Will Value Compass do valuations? Like, do you have an online valuation tool? Will you help with, let's call, like, is there a tech piece to it where you're marketing specifically to business owners? Can you talk a little bit about that too? I know you can do one-on-ones, but any high level stuff you can share there?
So are you talking, Chuck? I mean, maybe you should
Yeah,
answer this as well.
so
So that
it's really easy. Our Discover tool literally takes 15 minutes, and at the end of 15 minutes, having this conversation around these 18 questions of operating performance, you're going to get a valuation, what the business is worth, what it could be worth in the gap, how much money you're leaving on the table. That's the conversation starter. The average business is leaving 33% of their business value on the table. They're not capturing it because they're not running best practices. Now people go, how can you do that in 15 minutes? Well, the reason we can do it is it's all the algorithms we built at MIT at that level at Harvard, and then we've got decades of data inside of it. So you get the number, but it's been backed by the National Association of Certified Valuators, by the DoD, NIST, you name it, Harvard, MIT. So you could rely on that number, okay? And when they back tested it against formal certified valuations, they were all within plus or minus 3% of each other. So you can rely on the number, as Rick just said. So that's really, the platform drives that. Then from there, it plugs into a complete system, right? It plugs into a complete system so that you can accomplish what Rick has said, is you can track all the pieces and all the stuff. So
Well, Chuck, let me add, I
Yeah.
think this steel fabrication, had we not done Value Compass 3 years ago, and he saw his value at 4 million, but that he was leaving 3 or 4 million on the table. So he got energized because he didn't want to give up $3 or $4 million. Well, the last valuation we did before Christmas was 25 million because he grew his revenue and profit from 500,000 to 5 million. Whole different ballgame. Now, there's always going to be an exception, something that a company's got a patent or they got a 10-year government contract where that valuation number may but change. We do not present it as, hey, this is a certified value. We're trying to give you a number and get you excited, A, about something you may not have seen before, but B, be aware that there's a potential gap of money that you're leaving on the table. Our average score, we've done over 250 Value Compass discovers, is probably somewhere between a 52 and a 58. All they got to do is get to 85. 100 is not the goal. It's just to move the needle through creating an entrepreneurial team, avoid the NETMA acronym, and then compensate people fairly and properly and change the game.
Right. So here's what you're really doing with Discover. It's enabling that conversation, right? It's a conversation that they love to have. But what you've done is you set the owner up to think about their business as an asset. And that's what you, the advisor, have to have. If that owner doesn't think about it as an asset, you can't do the kind of work that you do, right? It becomes just this number. It doesn't mean anything. Once they start to think about it as an asset, they act differently. They invest in the advisor differently. They're willing to spend the 1%. They're willing to look at how it connects with their plan. Do they need insurance? What do they do with their AUM? It opens the whole door. But it's pretty subtle, and it's not subtle. They go, oh, my business is an asset. What do I do with it? How do I do all the things that you all are good at, right? So our first job is get them to treat it like an asset, understand what its value is, understand the gap, and get excited about working forward.
and then we coach you to have that conversation. That's the whole training part of having the conversation and allowing them to go down that process. So
Looks
any
like we
other
have a
questions?
Paul.
Oh, we got Paul. Yep.
Yeah, hi. Great presentation. So just a couple of quick follow-up questions. One is that it seems obviously Value Compass is a separate entity which works with BNY Mellon Private Bank, I would imagine, right?
Correct.
So if you can just, it's a separate entity, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And if you could just also talk about what is the subscription model or what is the fee structure for engaging with Value Campus and Value Compass, and then secondly, what are the types of industries, and do you have separate tools because a real estate firm or a oil and gas firm would have very different sort of evaluation metric than a technology or a private equity fund.
So let me
So
start with
do
the
you
latter
use
for you.
multiple? Yeah.
Paul, let me answer the latter, and then I let Brian answer the former. So the way the way that the algorithms all work is you are exactly right. Every industry trades along a different trading range. So a trading range means a manufacturing firm, to your point, will trade differently than an oil and gas, will trade differently than a government contractor. So all of that's built into the algorithm, right? So when you get the report out, it not only does it give you the high level, what it's worth, what it could be worth, it also puts it against its peers. Now we've done 60,000 plus of these, so you get a lot of peer-to-peer data, which means the same industry, the same size, same region. So all of that's baked into that first 15 minutes. Okay, Brad, I'll
Then
let you go
and
from
then
there.
Yeah, Phil, can you pull up the 11X, I think slide 5, just so I can talk to the pricing. So Paul, in regards to the pricing with the 11X Elite training, it's a $15,000 package, but what that does and how that's broken down is in $5,000 tranches. So if you look at Phil's going to pull it up hopefully and share this if he can. The first 90 days, you're going to pay $5,000. Now, in that first 90 days, we've had numerous advisors had 3x growth in revenue. So the $5,000, if you're getting a $50,000 engagement fee, ends up paying for itself 10 times. And that's only one or two clients if you get 225s. And then the next 90 days, you pay another $5,000. That's the fully served 90 day, the 5x the revenue. And as you're going along, you're paying for the platform, you're paying for the service as you go along. That was kind of our idea. If you're going to commit to yourself, we're going to commit to you, and you're going to get that revenue as you go along the continuum of the service platform. So it's $15,000 for the first year. That's what it breaks down to in $5,000 tranches, 90, 90, and then 180 in the last.
Got it. And then in subsequent years, how does Value Compass continue to work with the advisor, year 2, 3 onwards?
Yeah. So what we provide is a concierge service. What we know about elite advisors is they always need access to, the old word is a Rolodex, but they really need access to people who have been there before. So you have access to me and Brian and Rick, and there's this universe of people who care. And so we have a concierge level service. So we make sure that you have everything you need. There's probably no question we can't answer, and there's probably no expert we can't find between BNY and us and all of the people that we know. So it's literally a concierge service. It's 10,000 a year, and that's 3 advisors. So you can have up to 3 advisors in that system, and that's the average size of a firm, of most firms that are working together. They have 3 advisors. So that's how we built it that way, and it's 10,000 a year.
And Paul, as you know, and when you get to the point of, oh, we need a trust or we need to work with the private bank, with BNY, there's no cost as long as we're, working to entertain a client. So we're doing dinners, we're having them meet with the ACTEC fellow, they're meeting with a private banker, they're doing that hardcore planning. Value Compass works in the front end, initial valuation into qualified clients, and then once we get them either prep for sale or doing that ongoing programming for that liquidity event. That's all just sort of that's free. It's by design.
So, Paul, and I'll make an observation that one of the a middle market investment banker said, "Why do a lot of owners regret when they sell? It's because they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. So then the natural question is, then why did they sell? It's because the process wore their ass out. And some people say, and their spouse spent the money. So they're willing to accept this raw deal. So I think by working through a team effort, an army effort, a process effort, you improve the odds that the owner can understand more fully. That's why we think it's a relationship experience and not a transaction experience. But that's what's happened for us.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one, Phil, if you're okay with one more from me.
Ask as many as you want.
Question would be, well, comment first. I'll just share with the group. You guys know we brought Josh Caesar on last year to head up our 401k division. And that has allowed us not only to, land some 401ks, but also get access to business owners and start having these types of conversations. But for the gentleman on the call from Value Compass and Rick, for somebody that wants to get started, maybe they're not working with any 401ks. They don't have a lot of business owners on their client list at this point. Any advice on getting started, how to tap into that, how to tap into those business owners, that network?
I can go. Rick, you can go.
All right. Well, I'll just give you my short version, Sebastian. If you meet the owner where they are and not necessarily product specific. Now, 401ks, we have a very significant 401k division in our firm also that has given us opportunities to get into the market. But there's a lot of commoditization going on with that. So what we tried to do is make that part of our overall offering. It's the initial questions and promises that you make to the owner, which is not to waste their time, to give them invaluable information. And then I think, Sebastian, if your team can introduce the team concept with literally, whether it's pictures or a breakfast, that just takes a lot of the edge off of the owner to think they're going to get trashed or they are so terrified of having somebody waste their time. So I think introducing a team just like you would a surgical team. I was very fortunate to spend 2 days with Admiral Ray Smith, who was the only admiral who ran all special forces and the SEALs twice. And when I met him that first morning, I said, "So Admiral, can I ask you a question?" He said, "Sure." I said, "How did you become an admiral?" He said, "Well, I ran 158 missions in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I didn't lose a guy." I said, "I think I'm going to pay attention to this gentleman for the next 2 days." And what he talked about was team selling and team health. And I think it's a wonderful teeter-totter, because when the selling gets out of whack with the team's health, the team is going to get trashed. So you can't do this alone anymore. You got to have the SEAL team or the strike team or the berets or whatever it is. And, you all have a great reputation on the street. So what you want your new people to do is borrow your firm's success, because if they're not willing to borrow the success that you and Paul have already established, you don't want them on your team.
So, and I'm going to come from the simple Vermont country boy side of the world. Wherever your office is, if you get up and looked out the window and you could see 1, 10, 25 businesses, almost 100% of them need you and want you. Honest to God, it is. So if you know a single business owner or you have one in your family, just run Discover once. And then you're going to want to do it twice. What Rick did was, I said, Rick goes, okay. When we first met, he goes, okay, I'm going to go run 5 of these. And he ran 5. Then he ran 25. Then he ran 50. The point is, Discover is what they just need to do with a business owner. Or just do it with a spouse. It's such a great tool. And it's not just because we created it, but it has worked universally because it's what the owners want. So as long as you know an owner, can see an owner, they need you.
Chuck and Sebastian, we also have a marketing system where you can actually reach out to business owners via email, share kind of some of the pitfalls that business owners fall into, leaving 30% of their wealth on their table, black swan events, all of those things that they fear. We kind of strike a chord with them with the emails chain that we send out, and we have the Discover associated with that. So you have the ability to share that. If people have lists of business owners that they can get emails, if they know owners, we can do the 6 emails and get them to see a Discover, maybe do that Discover or book a meeting with that advisor.
Ryan, I'm going to hit it, but thank you all. It was a pleasure to meet all you gentlemen. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact me and I'll get right back to you.
Thanks, Rick.
I'll just leave a comment. Chuck, you're so right with your comment. My wife only hears the negatives about the business. I never share the positives, it seems. So yeah, very, very true statement right there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anybody else questions before? I know we got 2 minutes before these guys got to bolt. I think we're good. Okay. Thank you everybody for being on the call. Appreciate it. I know a lot of articles and a lot of emails you get about working with business owners. Here's a way to, tap into that and get some expertise if you're looking for an assist. So any closing comments, Phil or team?
Thank you, Sebastian. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, everybody.
You
Yep,
guys.
bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.